Okay, you're live.
Said he was coming.
So we don't have Ben and we don't have Greg.
Okay.
Because a part of what we also want to do today, not to steal your thunder, right? We wanted to outline objectives here. This is all exciting, fun, but also in the thinking business, as I like to say. So I'm trying to get a sense of where all of this is headed so that people can we can start to lock down some of these things, right? And so if we don't have everybody, right, it's going to be hard to do that.
Right.
So how, as kind of the ownership team, you guys want to proceed with that kind of backdrop?
Yeah, I mean, I just texted Ben. I don't know what to tell you.
Okay.
I mean,
Is that clock on the back wall correct?
that's correct.
Um, Part for your listening pleasure, and I don't mind repeating. How about that?
All right.
So today our biggest goal is to really talk about the brick and the metal panels. And the reason for that is that the brick, you can see, is a huge percentage of the building. And the metal panel system, if we're going with the system that we've been talking about, the more colors we add, the more recess and dimension we have to the face of the building. So the color panels sit back to the background panels. And so they are a different system. And as we're going through this detailed design piece of it, we need to understand how many of those different pieces we need to have into our design. Now, that doesn't mean that we can't change them going forward. We just need to make sure that we're somewhere in the ballpark of, the number of panels that we want and the look and feel that we want for the front of the building. So, Joe, I don't know if you've had a chance to look at the bricks, but we did have four options for bricks the last time we were here. Matt and Ben, I think, were leaning towards this water struck brick. This is very similar to the brick that's on the outside and on the inside of this building. It has a little bit older look to it. It has some garnishing around it, a lot of depth of color to it. Understanding that this brand, this particular brick, we still have to have three options for it. We would want a second choice just in case we don't get it first. And so we have some color ranges here that are close. And is it this one that was the next close? This one, which is close, but you can see that the color is a little bit different. And dimensionally, you can see it's a little bit different, where this has rough edges, a little bit more movement. This one is very rigid. So this was where we were leaning. But I understand from Greg that there was some different opinions. So this is what we're trying to get to right now. How much furnishing and I don't know if you guys want to share what your thoughts are right now.
I mean, my thought was that I thought the idea of having it so much brick was it's supposed to look like the sort of downtown area, like Main Street, some of the old buildings on Main Street. I think that's why the roof line was kind of different too. As you look at the main building, it's got that kind of like that. So that was what I was leaning towards for the older style.
Greg is here now on your computer.
Okay.
Hi, Greg.
Hi there. Sorry, I couldn't get out of the office. I have a 3 that was scheduled for me, so here I am.
I was speaking for you just a moment ago. We're talking about the brick, and I was speaking for you about what I think your thoughts were. So Matt was just sharing that he was looking towards the older brick, the water struck brick.
I like Matt's thoughts on that, about how that looks more like authentic.
Yeah.
Belongs in downtown Gloucester. The only thing that I'll add to it is it's a different choice. I like the old part better only because it's going to be like a nice new school and I like the nice crisp lines that feel like a nice
Uh-huh.
brick with a little bit on a nice building, you know what I mean? But I'm not gonna, like, if the
Oh,
majority goes one way or the other.
I won't keep your daughter back. or
Yeah, yeah,
if
right.
you Disagree with me.
But yeah, I like Matt's perspective on the whole brick, but I do like the new brick.
Yeah. And I mean, I can go either way on that. Look, I like it.
So, I mean, my personal, so I'm actually the opposite. I like the older brick. The new brick to me is new, you know, too clean of a line. Colors, obviously, are great. Old school guy.
So the more textured rough,
Yeah,
water struck is what we call this.
right.
Why don't you bring them over maybe and ask them?
Greg, do you want to share? I think you've had a chance to
Greg came
see.
by. Yeah.
You came by, so we're talking about the difference between the water struck, which is the older looking brick, and some of the same color variations, but in a pattern that is more clean line.
Yep. Again, it's a preference thing. I'm just looking at it against the, fairly modern panel, and whether or not it would just be a better, match with a cleaner lined brick against that. I've certainly seen some facilities that have had additions over time, and sometimes it looks like it doesn't quite work, or something was built in a different era. And so I just thought that there might be kind of a marrying of kind of the modern nature of the panelized piece to have a cleaner brick. I mean, it's going to weather over time as well, and whether or not that, I think again, at least from what I saw from the samples, the cleaner line also had, it looked like it had a deeper red, and I can't tell if that's the case, or kind of more of a vibrant red, less of a yellow or brown. And then the other piece was, I wasn't sure that the mix would also contain that brown brick as well, or if there was an option that had a little bit less of the dark in it. So
So
those were my thoughts.
there is a more brownish color here and a more burnt color to the other pieces. And then if we could look, this one has the less burning and dark pieces. We
And-
have, the mixing in the dark pieces helps give some movement and texture to the building, and break things up a bit, where this is more monolithic with that.
And you can pick how much of a percentage of the dark brick is in it, right?
Right, so to Greg's point, this is brownish, where this is blackish. And I don't know if that helps, but also,
You'll get those darker ones in the water struck too, with that sample. Right? But like on the edges where you get that black, where that color looks, so flashing. And that's part of the differentiator between, some of these bricks where you got more or less of it, and then the other one that you still have to the table but not vertical right now, right? That really has very limited on the black. Right? So, as Greg said, it's a matter of personal choice. I mean, my 2 cents is like, I think that having a mixture in there, right? We can talk about, texture and those things, but having a mixture provides a lot more depth to the kind
Yeah, I
of
agree.
overall panel. How far down the line you go is a matter of personal preference. And then you can talk about, kind of like the water struck brick there versus even the one that we went with West Terrace behind, right? That's kind of like in the middle.
Yeah.
Of those, like where there's less flashing, there's less texture, but it's kind of got a little bit, crisper line on the edge than some of the water. So, but again, this is, your building and your choice. You put that stuff. Eventually make those color decisions that you're
Yeah.
not allowed to make at home.
Ever.
So this is the West Parish brick.
and
I
I
don't, is
This
West
is what
Parish
Greg was
that
talking about a little
orange? I've been meaning
It
to
is,
drive
actually.
by.
Yeah.
I was surprised that, yeah, I mean, that's my gripe with that one is that it's like really orangey.
Well, the other challenge that we have is the light that we're looking at. here,
Yeah, of course,
right? It's different
Yeah.
when you're dealing with
when you're
light
outside.
versus,
Yeah,
4,100 temperature bulb.
yeah,
But when you do look at that compared to this, it does have a more orange color, and this is a deeper red.
yeah. I mean, I definitely, I mean,
It's easier to start sometimes getting rid of red
yeah,
versus choosing the one that you. Right.
So let's play the I don't want game. Which of these four is your least favorite?
the, for me, and I'm only saying myself, the far right and the far left would be the ones I
You're not
don't
following
like.
directions, Matt.
What? I thought you said what I don't like.
Which are your least favorite? Okay.
Yeah, so my two least favorites
Two
are the
least
far right
favorites.
and the far left.
Okay, so you like the two in the middle. Greg, did you have a,
I'd like to see the one on the far right a little bit closer. Yeah, definitely the far left, too orange. Yeah, and I think that'll look a little too monolithic. I just like the cleaner edged one that's one from the left.
Option 3, not yours.
No, not that one. The one next. Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
But again, it's personal preference in terms of kind of the more distressed brick versus something that's cleaner lined. I think the tone of them, just from my eye, putting that against the navies and the grays in the panels, just I thought was a better match than something that was a little bit more kind of yellowish red brick.
You don't like the one or prefer the one in the left. Okay, we'll take that as a spot. Okay, James, what's your?
My vote is for the old port, would be my first choice. And
Okay,
so I could get rid of the ones.
all right, so we're down to these two, which sounds like a good choice
Yeah,
and a good place for us to start. All right,
great.
they're both within the same color, and it's just that we're looking at textures as we move forward. All right, now.
Done.
Done. And put that one in almost done. We still have to make
Well
sure it's
done.
straight. Almost done.
What's next?
Why not move it all the way like you're so close?
I'm so close,
Don't shortchange yourself here.
but we don't have Ben here to go.
I know, but that's only, we'll
Alright.
see if Ben can codify this.
On the count of three, hold up the 1 or the 2. And water struck or your preference, water struck or, I think you said Old Port,
Or so,
and you said water
Yeah,
struck.
so my two cents, as I just said, water struck ties to downtown, ties to the existing building. Of course, the existing building goes away, and we can look back and say, we tie the brick back into the brick that was existing here.
Right.
That's a tie, I mean, it's not a deal breaker for me, not the end of the world. I like the colors. I'm more concerned, focusing on that, but like I said, I like the water struck.
I'm not gonna get anywhere.
Exactly
This
what
isn't even dead
I'm
even.
in complete agreement with Joe.
Yeah, let's do the water strip.
All right,
And Greg was saying,
Greg likes.
I'm not going to be servicing the building or working in it, so.
number 1.
I like the way you think, Greg.
Hey, it's a school building. You should definitely have more than my say in this. Again, it's a new, brand new, modern building. And I think you get some of that with using the brick to begin with. But if you like that distressed look, then that's fine with me.
And Amy liked it too. She was by this morning.
She's not on
No, I know. I gotta live with her, so.
Mass procurement dictates, right? 3 that we have to go and propose,
Okay,
right? So I think probably what we'll do is we'll include these 2, right? And then this will be recorded.
I believe so, yes.
Then we'll look to another one, right, somewhere else out there that's kind of an outlier, right? With the hope of maybe trying to be able to get these as the ones that would be offered by the Mason.
Okay,
Okay?
great.
All right,
That's Old Port, and what's the other brand name for the minutes here?
College,
college blend.
college blend.
And the old port is the
Yep.
college blend is the water.
Yep.
All right, so we're gonna move on to the metal panel. And Matt, if you can put on the screen the boards that I'm showing so that they can see it. Can you share your screen as we begin to talk about it?
Share it with what?
Because they need to be able to see the board.
Oh, option 1 in that? All right, let me see what I can do. All right, hold on, everybody.
You have your screen share.
I'm on it. Here it is. This is option 1B I have up.
Just go to option 1.
Okay, hold on. Oh my God, this is torture. You didn't tell me you were gonna do this to me.
I thought that's why you wanted me to send those to you.
Oh, no, I didn't know.
You
All
said
right,
send ASAP. I thought we could go board on that.
yeah. All right, can you guys see that?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay,
All right.
You see the top portion of
Yep.
the board.
there's option 1. Oh, this.
Yeah, that's right.
Option 1 we're looking at. Okay,
All right, so the last time we were together, we talked about looking at different options for the metal panel. More color, less color variation, and that's what Bryce and Josh have been working on. for the past 2 weeks. And so what we have here is option 1 and option 2. We're seeing 2 different variations.
all right, I'm gonna slide down.
These
here.
are 2 different colors of the light. This is the pattern, and then these are the different colors. It's shaded in the blue. It's blue that everybody seems to like. We're trying to get those colors a little bit closer to what's actually in the metal. And then we play with the variation on the. In this option, you're seeing
It's option 1.
option 1 here.
Okay,
Zoom in here. You can see the panels are more random than, so we're taking away that wave thought from before in this option. The panels are random, the colors are around, and we changed the size of the panels so they're aligning with the printed unit. In option 2, here, you can see that we re-emphasize that up and down wave. This almost is reflective of the interior. So this first pass, what do we think about this one versus this one? More color and more patterns more defined, where this is a little more random, and the whites and grays. Anything that jumps out?
I like that the option 2 matches the interior tile pattern.
I was surprised to see so many colored panels because I was leaning more towards like
The minimalist.
option 1 with just the ones we saw last week, which was just a few colored panels.
So
So
is this even too many for you?
yes,
Okay.
for me personally, I think it's
So
too much because, and I've thought about this because I felt like, you're gonna have, when you're looking at the front of the building, you're gonna have the colorful drive around. And then to the far left, you're gonna have the playground, which will be pretty colorful.
Right here.
Yeah,
Yep.
and then the play structure.
Mhm.
So I felt like you didn't really need to go with so much color in the front. I can say that my faculty who's come in to look at it all like the minimalist.
They like the fewer. Like
The fewer ones, like the wave, the idea of that wave that came up and went down.
Old option.
Yeah, option 1.
Unfortunately, named the same thing.
That's okay. If there's,
Okay.
a couple of these, but if they migrate back to the other one, I can accommodate that.
All right, so that's just my thought. I'm being really opinionated, but,
That's why you're here.
okay, good.
You're here to
All
be
right.
opinionated.
No one,
and,
no
like,
one normally.
This is not what we want, or
cares.
this is
Yeah.
absolutely.
All right, good.
Greg, do you have an opinion over what you've seen today versus what you saw last week or 2 weeks?
I can't remember what the one with more than less panels from last week, and I was also more inclined towards the less randomized pattern. But and I see this one also has a different panel sizing, which I think is a little bit better. I think the other ones were kind of fairly large, and in particular, I didn't like the one on the very front facade that was just kind of sitting down there at the bottom. So
So this- And this is the old
yeah.
one.
Yep.
If I remember, you didn't particularly, this one felt weird to you because there was
Yeah.
nothing.
And I do like that it's broken up a little bit more with more panels in the one that you just showed.
Okay.
But you know, down to what that is and how it's randomized or not, you know, that's a personal preference thing.
So more panels, but less color, is what I'm hearing. Is that,
Yeah, I mean, I liked it that with the idea that it was a little bit more organized than random,
okay?
but that's just a personal preference.
Greg, what if like you extended it down to the bottom? Would that look better to you, like a longer panel?
I kind of liked it having a little bit of a banding of you know, kind of almost like the lower sill was just all one color rather than having it trying to break that up too much. I mean, it's obviously the interesting feature of the building, and I don't know that it really needs to be broken up that much.
I see it as the, like, when you're talking about this building, this is going to be, that's the piece, right? And whether it's less color and that's the piece because it's minimalist, or if it's more color and that's the way that you're describing it. That's, you know, that's where we're at right now. Where are we going to be talking about this piece on this site?
I still like original option 1 best.
Okay,
But if I had a second choice, I would take new option.
those are so far apart.
So like, I really do like how minimal
Okay,
original option number 1 is. I do still like the wave idea, and that still carries through in the interior, right? We're still using. And again, I go right back to like tile pattern, like that new option.
So that would be the pattern that'd be in the hallways, like.
Yeah, if you
those
remember
tiles. Yeah, Amy
yeah, the
showed you.
interior hallway pattern, on the left quarter, in the academic wing, that's the only place, right?
There's some in the public area, just because it's to protect the walls.
Okay, so anywhere that we have that main quarter field, if the tile pattern is something like, may not be exact, but it's something like that.
My was new option. New option 2.
The NO2.
Michelle, were you saying that there's kind of parity of the pattern on the inside versus the outside?
So option 2, which is this more expressive wave here. This is very similar to the tile pattern on the walls inside.
Did we see that one before?
No,
This
this
is
is,
These
Oh,
are-
okay.
so,
Yeah.
and this one are the new ones.
Okay.
And Greg, yeah, that it wasn't shown on the shared screen, but it, just to give you an update, it was like you say, when Michelle is, you know, kind of taking what Josh's pattern on the corridor wall
Mhm.
and, you know, being a little bit more literal in the sense of, you know, a motion of a wave on the exterior. Granted, this is, you know, much more.
You could stop showing me that.
All right.
I mean, it's
Good,
certainly worth noting that it can be scaled back to
Yeah.
a certain degree. It doesn't necessarily have to be that, but
Yep.
it was worth just showing you as
Sure.
that connection. And my 2 cents on the whatever was it option 1 that's on there, Michelle, the more sporadic
Yes.
one. So, you know, kind of using that as a, I think it was option 4 from the last go around, was a little bit more color in there.
Mhm.
So what my thought was kind of going from the corners of the building, from the media center and the art, starting low and progressively getting more dense and dense, kind of getting to the crest, at the corner of the art wing there.
Mhm.
So again, if you're looking, if there's more preference to kind of go back to the very first one, and based on the modular size of those metal panels, they have to be divided up more anyways. So to your point, Greg, those would get smaller. So, you would see that revision regardless,
Mhm.
because based on the limitations that that metal panel has. So, because this is going to be a very dynamic wall because of the differentiation of the panel depths. There's going to be 2 inches of push and pull from whether it's the gray or white to the color. So you're going to see shadow depth and along with the pattern of the coloring there. So
Mhm.
Share your screen there and show Greg that image right there. And the other
All
image.
right.
Yeah, Michelle, we found 4 photos of different panels.
So this is what-
yeah, it'd be good to show some of the precedent study.
Right now, we're just doing with just the color panel. You do have the option to do it with the white panel.
Before we get to Jeff, I still don't know exactly what Greg's kind of thought was in terms of preference. And you say didn't like 2, does that mean like 1 or?
Thank you.
Old number.
Number 1? What would be the second?
Do you have a second choice, Greg? I think you liked old number 4 before, but does new number 1 and new number 2 don't appeal to you, is that correct?
It looked much better on screen than trying to put me in front of it.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Um,
Yeah,
I'm
if you
trying to-
show, yeah, show them the ones that are on.
All right, let me try it again. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Yeah,
Oh,
show-
no, I would no, but I'm just saying it definitely was better than just holding the camera up against
Yeah.
the board.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. So this is option 1.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
That's new option 1. And this is new option 2.
Right. He said no. He didn't want to see
Oh,
no.
no, he hated it. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I have to say it does look better when you see it on screen, but I guess if I were pushed between those two, I actually liked option 1 better.
New option 1?
Yeah,
New option 1.
the new
Yeah.
option 1.
New option 1 is the number 1?
Yeah, so is new option 1 your number 1 or old option 1?
There were things that I didn't like about the old one that I think are corrected in this with having, I guess, extend down to the bottom and not just have that one outlier that was in the first one. I think, and is Ben on the call? Because I know he was a big fan of having more color on the panel. So I think this is kind of a combination of the one that was his preference from the last time we met, and still kind of has that wave feel to it, but doesn't have that real kind of outlier and bigger panel that was one of the things that I didn't like about option 1 in the last time. So I do like that one better.
Matt, can you scroll down a little bit to the enlarged view? Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
So, I think there was trying to make a balance on both sides, having it read. Granted, the 2 elevations are different, just the nature of the openings on one side and the other one not as much. But I think, having that kind of same idea, also, breaking the panel sizes too, helps to create a little bit of, leveling the how they interact to each other.
So, Joe, time for you to pony up and give us your thoughts. So,
solid. Mix that up and still Matt, I don't know if you ever really.
I only like option one. Or that color one. I feel like it's just, you're in a neighborhood and I just feel like it's just too much.
You like old option one?
Old option one,
Oh,
the only, but
all right.
So Bryce, there isn't a interactive, you can give us this panel and an inkwell and we can fill it in ourselves.
yeah, no kidding. I might try that. That's a good idea, Greg.
Right. Yeah, a little paint by numbers. You
Yeah,
guys
exactly.
go for it.
Dip back and click.
Exactly. I mean, again, we're early in the game here, as far as the elevations. I mean, we have the idea. I can continue to massage it and, make the changes and be active to see, continue to show you guys, and, work it as we move. So, but if you, feel like we still got to go back to the first option one and work from there, I think just need a little bit more guidance.
You know what, so I think, I think most of the room is leaning towards new option one,
Okay.
with the exception of Matt, no offense.
Yeah, that's all right.
But what we could do, we could send out a blank one and, to Greg's point, let you guys color in what you think is just the right amount. And then you can send it all back to us. And then we can have another meeting. But I think we have some direction and guidance about
Just so you know.
a little bit more
I'm
minimal.
the official scorekeeper here, right? Right?
But
We have a dead heat tie by my tally. We have
Oh.
two, right, that prefer old option one, right, and two that prefer new option,
Okay,
okay?
so we need them.
So, no, well, I think what you're saying, what Bryce and you were saying is correct, right? We don't, given the fact that we kind of, we don't have consensus here, we will go and take another round here, looking at, trying to come up with some type of, won't use the word compromise, but a new option,
Yeah,
right, based on what we're interpreting a little bit here with respect to your comments that you made between option, old option one and new option.
okay,
Okay,
great.
Matt, if there were a few less of the color panels on new option one, would that convince you? In that, so I was just thinking maybe, do you mind if I approach the panel? Okay.
You may
Like,
approach
yeah,
the
yeah,
panel,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Jameson.
Okay, I don't even know what to.
Yeah,
Like if a few of these weren't there, just a few of the ones that are up high
yeah,
disappeared, maybe that would,
yeah.
bring it back
is
to
it
like a
give it
more
a little bit
simple-
less of, little less saturation in the blue area on that corner? Is that what?
Yeah, that's kind of it. And then like Jameson said, it's sort of the randomized, I was into that whole wave idea on the
I
first,
know, I heard you announce. it
on
other
the,
day.
on the first one.
Bryce is
You know?
calling me a liar.
And
None of you guys have picked up the whole wave.
I was totally into the wave. And like, I
Oh,
love-
the tiebreaker
There's
is
the
here.
Love the idea.
Tiebreaker is here.
Yeah,
No
so,
pressure.
but I mean, there is some ideas like in the front part of the building on old option one, how they seem to be like larger panels.
Yes.
Like maybe if you could make those, like maybe cut those up a little bit like you kind of do there,
Right.
I wouldn't mind, but I like less color and the waveform. I guess would be mine. That's my deal.
All right, so what ties am I breaking? Well, we're actually not, we don't need a tie break here. We decided to go back to the well.
Yeah.
And I can tell you what the kind of general consensus was, and maybe we'll tell you just bring forward number one up. Put it over two. The general consensus seems to be that there's a preference for these two ideas, and maybe somewhere in between those two. So this, like, we're talking this here?
Yes, the metal panel.
Yeah. So what inputs helpful? Like, do you
want to hear a preference? You want to hear a?
Okay,
Tell us
speaks-
what you think.
What speaks to you?
What do you like? What do you
leaning
hate?
towards This one, or are you leaning back towards that? So that, I'm gonna get to the difference between this one and that one.
So,
Talking about mostly the blues, the patterns.
yeah, no, I like more. I like more on the list. Yeah, yeah. But,
Okay.
I just, this just seems a little, because what we asked for before was more, at least I did, more color than this. And so I like more, but that exact pattern, I don't know.
Okay. So I think that you just sealed the deal on, we're gonna go back, take a closer look at this one.
Yep.
Maybe some, in this range, where the smaller panels, more broken up panels.
Oh, I see. So that's also what you changed, is these are smaller panels.
They're
Oh, I
also
got it.
smaller panels.
Okay.
And we'll look at the amount of color. Okay. The difference between the A's and B's. The difference between the A and the B is the difference between the background color of the white. So this one is the white, and this one is the gray. Right? And, Bryce, do they have to choose? I mean, could we make these part of the color palette as well?
Yeah, I mean, it was the white or the gray was going to be the main contrast of around the whole building, right? So you're using that as your primary, and then the color became it's secondary. But if there's interest in incorporating that as part of the color palette,
You could go to having the 5 colors so that the white is broken up with the gray as well as the blues.
You do some of that here? Oh, no, that's blue, right?
Yeah, that's this.
Yeah, that's
lighter
the
blue.
slate blue, the like gray.
So the other part that these guys worked really hard on is trying to get these colors that print closer to. I think it was,
No, 6 feet.
there wasn't their opinion that this was too dark, so you don't see. I don't think that was in there.
It is, it's just, again, the printer is not doing it justice.
This is too dark, right?
You didn't necessarily like the darker one, but we don't have one that,
We didn't get an in between.
like, we have all the other options here, but I don't think anyone else liked any other colors.
Maybe if there's not a lot of the dark. So the difference between A and B is really the background color. This one's white, this one's gray. And I don't know if you have a preference when you see them all together with these colors. What you think the background might be.
Have you guys already discussed this? Not repeating from me?
No, we're not.
No, this, we haven't gotten to this part yet.
Can I want to ask a question. So when you've worked with these panels before, right?
Mhm.
Is white like, oh my God, like my eyes are gonna burn out of my head? Or like, I mean, how have you found like the whiter shades
Right.
of the metal panel? Like, have you felt, like, what's your experience with that? Because I don't.
So Bryce actually worked on a project at Needham High School recently and using some very similar panels and similar light. So he can tell you based on his experience what he thinks.
Michelle, the option one you covered up, but we do have a picture,
if I could add my 2 cents, I've used the bone white before, and depending on the color, or at least the time of day, certainly if it's sunny, sure, you'll appear white, but I tell you, it does things to your eyes, because during a cloudy day, it almost appears darker and grayer. We really do rely on those color chips to get a sense of what it is. But the bone white is not, to me, it's more of a personal, it's not an overpowering white.
Okay.
Yeah, being there on site to the Needham one, sometimes it does appear very gray to me,
It looks
as
silver.
opposed to white. And then some days it looks more white.
Yeah.
So if you asked me on some days, I would choose this having been that color, but I know in fact it's this one.
Bone white's over there.
Yeah.
Wait, sorry, what are the two, what's the lighter color, what's the dark?
This is regal white.
Is that
This is the
lighter,
lighter color.
lighter here, what's the
And the
dark?
darker color is the light gray.
Light gray? And bone white's brighter, right?
The bone white is brighter, and some days it looks like silver.
Okay. That's the one that plays, that is medium, sort of,
Yeah.
keep your eyes.
So this is bone white, and that's what that image is there. So this comes off a little bit.
Almost like yellow.
And the
Yeah.
chip.
Yeah.
Right. The regal white that we picked last time is definitely whiter than the bone white.
Yep.
This being the bone white.
Okay,
So when you think of a building
see it.
that's sitting down and almost like in a bowl somewhat, right? I don't know. It's bright better. No?
I mean, they're both pretty light, pretty bright, pretty light. I mean, this isn't gray. I mean, obviously gray's dark. It's not a dark, it's it's a fairly light gray, correct?
I personally would, and I don't like you guys stuff, so I personally think that it might be nice to have both. In that, to mix up these
Have
panels.
both. I'm happy looking at that. Yeah, I kind of like that, yeah.
As one of the options.
Yeah.
Now that fascia, is that the same system or is it different?
No, that's different.
Up above.
Yeah.
Sorry, Bryce, I just jumped in on your design. Are you okay with that?
I couldn't really tell what's going on. I assume you already just jumped in for me, so.
Yeah, I was thinking that maybe you might want to try using both of these in one of the options. Like on the same wall, so you have 5 colors.
I actually think that's gonna be a really good idea.
I mean, we
Brad's with me, so you're out.
Nice.
You just say that to say, but I'll tell you why I think that. I think that's gonna give it a little bit more depth.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. Just
So-
standing here looking at that.
And then for the middle part of the building to your left,
Mhm.
would you mix the colors there too, or
Yeah, so,
you'd choose one?
no, I think we would have to take a closer look at this as well.
Okay,
I think you get it one.
if you do it in one, you gotta do
Right
it.
in one.
Yeah, okay.
And we would look at the panel
Yeah, that
size
sounds
in
pretty
here as well.
cool.
So we could play with that, which
I mean, it's very subtle.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
but just looking at from the light, I think that it gives a little bit of movement without changing the depth of the panel, because they'll be in the same plane.
So what we'd see next then is one that has the 5 colors, one with the regal white, and one with the light gray. And all of them have a little more color in a different pattern.
And we're gonna look at the different patterns. So that's our next step.
Okay.
But with this group of 5 colors.
What are the 2 whites that we're gonna talk about that potentially co-mingle?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's the regal white and the light gray. I feel like the cream is too different than the white.
yeah, no.
It's not in the same family, so I would stick with the
Yeah.
cooler colors.
Didn't really hear. I'll dance with everybody. Yeah. Fine.
We're making some progress. The woods, I only have one sample right here. Is that?
Yeah, the consensus last time was start to look at darker, like warmer colors. We don't really have any updated samples of wood right now, but
Now, what we have to do is we have to get a couple more samples that we can stain up right now. Right, so this is one, just so everybody.
Yeah, I found the pre-finished ones tough to make a decision on.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This one right here is, it's sealed, right? But it doesn't really have the stain color, but it gives you a sense of, how it lays up. And then, you can start factoring on the various
Yeah, so that
colors,
looks totally different than that does.
right, on top of that.
Right.
And so with the chips, what we're able to do, right? If you actually feel this, you can feel that it's got a finish on it, a stain, or it's a sealer. And what we typically do is we'll get this raw,
And then we'll actually go and get the stain ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Stain it up. And then we'll put a finish on it so that you can get that patina on it that's like representing, we would say something like a fat type finish because it's a nice balance between giving you something from a maintenance perspective, if you want to clean it, right, versus a kind of a flat or in a high gloss, which is, in my opinion, a little too reflective. But if this is kind of when we talk about it in terms of families, right, I think what we were talking about was like these families. Last time out.
Yeah.
Is that four families? This doesn't count, so it's just
Kind
three.
of a range.
Yeah, so,
We had a letter to we-
there's
we-
birch bark.
The big piece is technically the lighter one.
Right, that's the birch bark.
So my feeling was like birch bark seemed too raw. But honey mead like seemed too, it's gotta be somewhere in between, it seemed too like rustic and golden.
It's the one on the far.
No, the next one. See
I
the
think
two,
the problem with the honeymead one is that the sample's bad.
yeah, the
So the
sample's
wood
raw.
was a bad.
Right, because if I look at honeymead there, like the two outside
Yeah,
stripes, I like, inside stripe just throws me.
Right,
Yeah.
I think
same.
you're right, it's a rough sample.
And we're positive that like the way the timbers are out front, that's what they're gonna look like inside too, right?
So what we have to do, right, is once we get, like, trying to hone in on this,
Yeah,
then we have to go and start to explore what the exterior stain options are gonna be, because that's really kind of the most limiting factor that we have,
yeah,
right? Because what Joe's gonna go and say is, I don't wanna go out there every year and a half and have to deal with that. So there's only a certain number of products,
right.
right, that will allow that, and then have the continuity between the outside and the inside. So once we get the sense of like, if this one, and he has some skin in the game here too, because right, it also transfers onto the interior,
Right.
right? And you look at that column right there,
Mhm.
right? That's probably not too far off of
No.
something like this,
Right.
right? And so what we've got to be able to do is balance out the color choice that you like, how we can figure out how to make that work from an exterior stain finish perspective to deal with maintenance,
Right.
and not have that be like so far off the map that it doesn't work for the interior as well. Right? So does anybody like this one go with the exclusionary approach?
No. No for me.
Greg, can you see that?
Which one
No?
is that labeled as?
This one is labeled as Hornby. I want to be a stain and color neighbor when I graduate.
So based on what was in the samples, when I came to visit Matt, that's the one that I was looking at, and I think it may have been, it doesn't show up real well.
No, I can see that one. I think that's
The one
the,
to the-
The honeymead.
Honey was the one we
yes,
looked at.
that's the
right.
honeymead, yep.
Yeah.
And that was your preferred?
Yeah, the other ones are a little too light, and then I think that last one that you were holding was kind of more of a brown,
Mhm.
which was okay, except, again, this translates to what happens inside.
Right.
Right.
Right, well, it just shows you, the variation that you get, right? Because those two are both Hornby,
Oh, yeah,
right?
that's helpful.
But, right, if those families right there work, right, what we can do is we can get that stain and lay it up. Right? Or where are people on this one?
Too light.
Too light, too raw,
Okay.
unfinished.
Sorry.
Wait, what's the last one? No, what's the last one is like a step down.
Okay.
A little bright, a little raw, I get that, I get down, but I still like that light concept.
Yeah.
It's such a weird side, honestly. I don't know about that.
Yeah,
Okay.
I can go with that.
So these guys are all very close, right? Like those guys look pretty close, right? A little bit lighter. So I think what we'll do is we'll try a couple of these and lay them up and put a finish on them and bring them back, you know, in a, not all big pieces like this, but lay it up and so that's actually what we get. In the interim, we'll do our homework on the exterior stain.
Do you have a preference for the exterior stain? The second's working for you out there at West Parish?
We haven't touched it yet, so it's gonna be working for us this summer. Yeah, I mean, that's,
Well, it's been working for you for 4
Right,
years now.
right.
Okay.
I mean, that's a
That's
good
pretty,
product.
that's,
Yeah, it's a good
it's
product.
a good product.
Second seems good.
And the fact that, usually you have to redo it like the first year, and
Right.
then you get the time, but you haven't touched it at all, right?
Yeah.
That's actually pretty good.
Okay.
All right.
So
So you got this in your notes?
I will as soon as I get back to the station.
I apologize. I have to jump off, so I'm not sure where you were going next, but I got to get on a 3.
I have the granite. Did you have a preference on granite?
I think Matt knows what I liked.
I do.
If it's not in line with his, he can change your choice.
You can always change. Let me speak for you, Greg.
Hey, again, I'm not going to be showing up there every day.
So based on our last discussion, last meeting, the Olympic gray was kind of the consensus within the in-person
So
group.
this one-
That's the one I like the best.
This is the Olympic.
There you go. That's my final word. See ya.
Hi. See you, Greg.
Anything else other than?
Will,
Olympic?
the one was too green, I thought, and then will it be white, I thought. So,
So the granite is happening underneath the panels here, underneath right here,
Yeah,
and
you-
at the base, we're doing it at the base of the columns. Bryce, we have granite at the base of the columns,
Correct.
and at the base of the columns up front. And then you have a lot of landscaping pieces that are going to be in granite. We're gonna try to, whatever you choose here, we're gonna try to keep the granite colors in mind.
This one has a lot of green compared to these two.
So that, and it's not only, it's the texture as well as the color. So this one is a little bit more.
There's the statue of Matt and me, that goes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. I'll accept nothing less.
So
than a
are we
statue.
in agreement for this?
Yeah, I like that.
Beautiful. All right. This is the
Olympic gray.
Olympic.
Yeah, oh, it's no problem.
I don't think, Bryce, do we have any more decisions for outside for today? I took the landscaping plan off of this.
We did.
Yeah, that covered pretty much everything I was looking for.
Great.
Great.
All right.
Can I hold on to these?
Yeah, so you can,
That's the, apparently you guys made a decision.
it's right here, one on the table. Go on.
And Michelle, was the consensus the college blend of the Waterstruck?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, so we're gonna bring these back with us next week too, when we start talking about the landscaping, so that we're looking at the building and landscaping in unison, now that we have some really good decisions on this. And then next week, we'll be focusing on the landscaping, but if we have some updates for these renderings, we'll add that to our meeting. I can't promise that yet.
Can I make a request for next week's landscaping meeting though?
Yes,
Can it be like, can we break it up into like it was
Yeah.
way too overwhelming
Yeah.
last week.
Well, that's why
I was like filling up with
Yeah.
tears.
we're gonna break it, so next
You guys are it was all over the
I
place.
know,
I didn't
I
even
know.
know where to start. So,
So next week, we're gonna start first at the front of the building,
okay,
and we'll just talk about the front because that really plays into the connections with these materials.
great.
And then if we have time, we'll move to the side. I do want to talk about things like the dumpster area and that whole area on the side of the building, what we're
Okay.
using for screening and those kinds of things. If we can't get to the playground or any of that space, we're not going to touch it. We'll just come back.
But we're like, we get, I like how like we're presented with like, it's just like 4 or 5 choices, not like he handed us a thing, it was like 75 colors.
Yeah.
I didn't even know where to start.
Yeah.
So
We're gonna look-
if it's a little more
We're gonna-
winnowed down, I'd like that.
Yes, we will do that.
So,
for you.
request.
And we're going to whittle down the space that we're talking about.
Yeah, great. Like today we talked about this.
Right. This plaza right here, I think is really important.
Yeah,
It sort of sets the tone for the entire building. Get this, Really, I really want to understand what we're doing here,
Uh-huh.
and then we'll move to the rest.
all right, great.
Um, so just give me a sense of, give us a sense of what's the timeline for us to look through all this? Is it like last week or is it like in April? You guys have no clue.
Yeah, so we are on a tight time schedule. We are looking at our consultants of having us all their specifications. Bryce, January 28th for draft specification? No, I'm sorry, February 28th for draft specifications.
Okay, that's the difference.
Yeah, February 28th.
Whoa.
And so anything that they need to know, we have literally a month to get it all together.
Okay, so we have this, we have landscaping, are there 15 other things we have to address or is it like? those
No,
three?
we're really kind of honing in on all of this. Working with Joe a little bit with some of the proprietary items that are outside of this, things like the Knox box, which we just got today, and your hardware. I think we have that on our list too, so we can start to pull all of that together. But those are decisions that are not subcommittee. They'll be back to school building committee.
And some of these, in particular, like the metal panels, where we were most engaged, let's say, right? That we have the information, we know what metal panels it is, we know basically how to line it up. Now it's just kind of look down the color and pattern. And so while I don't want to dissuade anybody from making decisions, right? We have like enough to go on to get to that February milestone.
Okay,
We weren't able to lock and load it. Right, so I don't
Okay.
want to get anybody too scared, right? We want to continue to push, but at the same time, we also want you to be happy. So we've got some more design on that, but we know what it is. We're not
Mhm.
changing that metal panel to something different, right? Everybody's on board with that.
yeah, right,
Right, so
okay.
now we have to be able to specification say, these metal panels, here's what our alternates or substitutes would be for that. And, it's just like, what's that final color, which just is basically a couple of words and numbers.
Okay,
So we're doing today was good.
okay, great.
So good, that's helpful. Some other things, just in terms of matter, really do, I think with the next version of the boards, really want you to just have some sort of where you guys, are you getting what feedback from your staff?
Yes,
You are, okay, so they feel like they're involved.
they've all been coming, I've had it in my office. I'd like to keep them here now.
Yeah.
This is where they eat. But, yeah, they've all been coming in,
Okay,
been
so-
inviting,
We go through this, we keep doing what we're doing,
Mhm.
they will feel like they've been.
absolutely.
Okay, great, that's perfect.
We should, if it's okay with you, right, what we should do is based on where things have been heading today.
Yeah.
I would suggest that we weed out some of these outliers. That we
Yeah.
have, right, there's no need to continue to, perpetuate things that really aren't in the hunt right now.
Right.
And then, that way, people have violent reactions to what's still here, then. we should-
Right.
I usually put up,
Like if this
Yeah.
table right here, these materials, and we take the rest of this all away.
Yeah, you leave option, new option, whatever.
Yeah, we leave
some of those,
you just don't need to leave paperwork.
Yeah, right.
Right, like we don't need to keep the ones that have the purple panels on them. Like we're not doing.
Yeah,
those.
we're not doing those. Yeah,
and then, great, and the other piece of this is school committee. What I'm trying to do with school
subcommittee is inform, include, and not have too much engagement. Okay?
Wait a minute, hold on.
God bless you.
We're still being
The way to do that is to give them an update, let them see things, listen, and then keep going.
Yep.
Okay, so I think about the next stage, the next certain set of boards, I think I'd bring it to them.
Okay.
Okay, and that's means we're pretty far down the pike. They're not gonna want this fully hopeful here, but some input at that.
Yeah, I would suggest in February, as we're getting closer to those final decisions. Just looking at this, I think some of the smaller decisions now that we have the big ones is, the brick pattern, whether or not we're doing any banding, the color of the window and doors, now that we have the rest of the colors done. And the metal trim. I think we have a few options on that, right?
Yeah.
The MCM. So once we have this, we know, we can begin to narrow in on some of the other pieces. Oh, and
You'll
then,
show us like brick patterns with that, the college. brick
and
pattern.
this piece of precast that sits above these windows. Those coming out.
Is that called the window? Nice.
Okay, good. Okay, good.
Yeah.
I was gonna go next, like, I feel particularly unable to, or not skilled in the area of our next group, the landscape. You are obviously great. I don't know how the folks feel. Do we need any other people from the committee or from our friends and relations to be here?
From your school building committee, you have to be careful about your numbers, right?
Sure.
So right now you have 4 people. I think if you have 5, you'd be considered having a full meeting, right?
Well, Greg too.
Oh, and Greg too.
Okay.
I
As long as
I don't know what the-
landscape-
I worked, I cut hedges for Carl's Little Brothers Landscaping for 12 years.
Well, I guess.
Gotta
Well, I
count
think
for
it's important
something.
that you're part of.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm seeing if there's any-
Yeah, no, I
area.
get, yeah, I get it.
All right,
And we're gonna have Joe with us too, because for maintenance of the landscape and,
good, okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
that's-
I can tell you,
right,
colors I like.
Yeah. we really want, we wanna know, like,
Yeah, yeah.
this material right here have you had any issues with your paint over at West Parish? You have, it's coming off.
Yeah, right now.
Okay, so this is something that we're beginning to hear from other schools too, so we wanna take a closer look at what we're using for paint in this drive aisle, as well as the circle in the background.
Is that paint functional there or is it detective?
Oh, no, this is like, they walk the line, they run around, over at West Parish, it's like a start go. kind
Yeah,
of
yeah,
thing.
so it's a sort of activity.
It's an activity based, up from circle to circle, those kinds of things, and then you have the map and.
I actually asked Joe Strayer, who's landscape architect, the last time to swing by West Paris on his way home, to look at that, and then to go and look at the rubberized surface in the back. Right? It's a little surprising to me that the rubberized surface is deteriorated in some areas. It's not so surprising to me that this is deteriorated, right? Because, even when you have a thermoplastic paint like a road paint, after a certain number of years, you've got to go back over it. And, that's just the nature of the beast. Right. But, okay, I think what's important for you guys to consider is if that's not something, right, that you're able to do, want to do, then we should be seriously considering whether or not we want to do that. Right? Because after 5 years without redoing it, right, it's going to look old and tired, and it's not going to create more public perception in the negative sense for you
Yeah,
than the positive sense. What's the upbeat sense? Like, what's redefined?
Well, if you have, so over at West Parish, we have games in the middle here, so that you need special templates to do those.
Right.
So you're templating, especially with the world map, you're
Yeah,
templating,
the world
and then you're painting, so they're,
you have to hire an outside
Yeah,
contractor,
yeah,
right?
it's not like
Joe's not.
Joe,
right,
And the PTO,
Right.
no,
So that's why, this maintenance issue is like real, because everything requires maintenance over time. And so, and over time, like we heard it from Joel, I believe, right?
meetings, it's like, you guys really should go look at that. So I did go out and look at it. It really is just, it's an amount, it only has a certain shelf life before it's gonna be done,
Mhm.
right? And I think his point was, for however people wanna look at that is, do you wanna do it or do you not wanna do it?
And the other piece we found was the fact that it is a heavily utilized play area.
Yeah.
All year.
Yeah,
Right, so we're out there plowing that surface. We're
Right.
Plowing the rubber surface, which, we caught a couple of corners. I don't think it was designed to be plowed, but as
Yeah.
you have limited space to use and, to Lena's defense, she said, well, what do I can't keep these kids inside, but yet I can't maintain them like I would on an asphalt player. So it's just that balance and it just,
The rubberized surface, we don't have a lot of options there because of the code requirement for kids falling off of it, potentially getting hurt, right? There has to be a certain kind of level of balance, I think it's called G-force, I think that you have to have in play areas now. And you can't just kind of go like old school and put down bar chips in because of the potential mold hazard.
and then the way we treat it with material, we're basically using road salt. Same thing
Yeah,
with
I-
traffic, plow traffic, foot traffic is gonna wear that paint away. DOT figured it out, now they can lay off it and not paint on top of the surface, they're grooving and they're painting the grooves. That's why your lines are lasting.
Is it restrictive to do that here?
And you have potential
I mean,
trip
it's-
hazards.
Yeah, so now you're talking potential trips and it could be costly.
So for some of the things like, and you can see it here too, we've begun to put curbing, granite curbing around so that you're not catching the edge.
Right.
On these play surfaces. We have the granite curbing here. We didn't go back to ask, that's one of those
Right.
cautious decisions. Cost more money, but it's gonna save you as you're plowing.
And this is a little bit different than West Paris too, because, you do have the opportunity with the artificial turf field, right? To be able to use that all seasons and, find the right equipment to be able to go and do that. Right? Whereas versus going and saying, we're gonna try and keep the rubberized surface, plowed in a snowstorm situation, which is inadvisable if you want it to be
right.
there for a long time. All good discussions to have for the landscape.
All right,
So this one's, we're doing some research on this right now. So we just ran into another issue. Trying to come up with something that lasts longer.
Yeah.
But,
Like I
once
said, I
you
think
put a
if it
plow
was
on
just a straight space that wasn't used in the winter, sure, it obviously would last.
But all of our hardscape
Yeah.
is, Doing-
Multi-season.
and it's doing double duty. We want it to be play space and we want it to be, of course, and here in particular with the buses turning on us,
Right.
you're getting.
So the traffic loop in the back around the play area, that also has, heating in it?
yeah,
Yep, it has hopscotch, Foursquare,
chess.
Chess.
Basketball, right?
yeah, we have a basketball.
Basketball.
pitch
The
too, yeah.
place to go look that was just recently done, is if you go to the Pine Grove School in Raleigh, at elementary school,
Yeah.
we just finished that up here recently. And they have a pretty significant and nice rubberized play area with the equipment in the back. Then you can also see where, it's been laid down on top of asphalt, similar to what was at West Paris on the pavement. Right, but it give you a sense of that as well, like fairly neat.
And we could obviously talk about it next week as well. But one of our biggest challenges with this site now, and even more so moving forward, is this is going to be a snow removal site, not a snow plowing site.
Hmm.
Site storage. So that's something we've got to figure out how we handle it. And if there's anything within the design that we look at, briefly talked about potentially some snow melt that built in. Obviously, there's a cost to that.
Right now, it gets us, it's no problem for a move or.
So it's a combination, or, the toughest thing now is the fact that we can't get in here until, the last minute because, the neighborhood comes in here, there's just no limited storage. We have really that space there, and we take that half of the building and dump it out onto Webster Street, which then gets pushed down. one last thing, we're getting ahead of ourselves in landscape, but I'll point it out, is we always have this discussion with respect to sidewalks and green concrete, right, and areas, right? So in the first year, you're not supposed to salt concrete, green concrete, because what happens is it falls. Make no mistake about it, if you do it, it's gonna fall. And, then you're gonna have a problem down the road. So we advise people not to do it. It's very hard not to do it. In some areas here, we're talking about using unit pavers in lieu of pouring new concrete panels. But it's something to consider when you're looking at the landscape. Keep that in mind, because that's a real maintenance issue, right? And if you just sand it, right, then you got to balance that off with what happens when that gets trapped into the building. So it's a balance, but it's something to consider too. And we'll walk you through that.
I don't want to complicate things further, but I've lived in a couple of other cold extreme places, and we use radiant heating to melt the snow in places that might be similar to that. I don't know if that's something that's been thought of.
That's what Joe was just kind of alluding to there.
Okay.
And we've done those systems, but they are the exceptions to the rule, not the rule, because of cost, both in terms of upfront installation as well as ongoing cost, because you got to keep that to make it work, right? Like we're doing a big firehouse right now, like down in Dedham, where that's there for their apron out in front of the fire station, right? But it's expensive, and it's not something that we currently have planned here.
In terms of the concrete and the salting the first year, to a kind of concrete?
No, it's just
Brand new.
it's new. Yeah.
So we have the same challenge at West Parish, and do we survive it? Do we avoid salting the first year, or is it really fine?
Without having really looked at it closely, I would imagine we have that small needs. It's pretty good to me.
I've never noticed anything, right?
Yeah.
It's really good.
I do remember that first year, just we talked about this stairway going out towards the ship. And we had to keep putting sand on that. We did have to go back and clear that one. But I think that was the only place we had the issue. But we
Right.
sanded instead of salted that.
And you get lucky sometimes, but last year or this year, right, it hasn't snowed, so you wouldn't go down, and after you're through the first year, you're pretty much home free.
Can I ask you guys to define that? What do you call it when salting?
Spalling.
What's it look like?
It's basically, it just starts to kind of crack off. It almost looks like it's flaking off.
Oh,
So
okay. Yeah.
you see it
Looks like everything you have
around
here.
and it's starting to
Yeah.
break apart.
Yeah. Spalling.
It's like when you see the pockmarks in the concrete.
Okay.
And we've looked all, there's no real solution for it. I mean, we've talked to like highway people and the institute that, does salting.
Yeah.
It's just the way the chemicals work.
There's a spray-on solution that they are using down at Taunton that is supposed to protect it. But it's the first time we've used
We
it.
looked at that too, just recently, and there's not enough there for us really to get behind it and say to you guys, it's like, yeah, this is the silver bullet.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when I was in Manchester, we came out of that building, we kicked in for the first year. We were treating the sidewalk separately, but of course, truck going down the road is going to go up on the sidewalk. We went over to the liquid and it worked, but I mean, it was expensive. To purchase it, to apply it. We actually started pre-treating with it, which worked really well. But like I said, it's costly. We typically try to use a different product on the sidewalk, so we're not taking a shovel of salt off the truck and sidewalk, buying bags. Rather than calcium chloride, different product, which is less harsh, but still is the same effect. The first year was pretty chemical. Yeah. And obviously, even second, third, the problem never goes away. It's the nature of it.
Yeah, gets better over time. It's the first year.
Well, thank you so much. You guys were great today. We lot of really good decisions.
Right, busted it out.
Good job, team.
Nice job,
Did really
people.
well. So I'm gonna
Great.
leave this for you.
Yeah, we can leave that and
Yeah,
then we
which
can,
ones do you don't know?
We will see you all next Thursday. at- I think it's great.
yeah, take that.
It's the same
You
problem.
all stay for one, right? You're gonna stay for the
This one?
Perfect.
All right, thanks, Michelle.
No, what,
Take away what you don't want them to see.
Remember, these two are the same thing.
No.
Wow.
No, that's my opinion.
Right,
Listen, you can't ask for
I want you to love this building.
I love it. No, I mean, don't get me wrong. I can't believe the design. I mean, my mind doesn't think like this. I have so much respect for the work you guys
Really
do.
either.
So these
Door on
are the
this, close
these
it
are
up.
the same here.
Close that.
So you want to get rid of like these ones.
Down, so I'm telling you that.
How about a white and gray?
Close that door and then you should have this.
Keep it
I
white.
just want to
You know, we need to do
Oh,
now.
no,
Install
white.
radon.
I think the big wave should go right this,
Okay.
go in that.
Right, like, I think people are liking this one, so maybe get rid of that, right?
Yeah,
And not
yes,
opposite.
I agree. All right, can we let these guys, can we let Bryce go?
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Go ahead,
Sorry.
Bryce, you guys can go.
Thank you.
Maria, we're all set.
All right, we'll see ya.
See you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.